Google Drawings is a simple graphics application that's built into Google Drive, along with the more famous Docs, Sheets, and Slides. It doesn't have anywhere near the features of, for example, Adobe Illustrator or other professional graphics applications. But that's kind of the point. It's often just what you need to create buttons, logos, social media graphics, or posters without a lot of features that complicate things. In this video, I show how to create a simple button for use on a website or web page. To get to Google Drawings, I click the New button, choose More, and then Google Drawings. I'll give the button a name by clicking in the upper left where it says Untitled Drawing and typing in a name. To set the size of the final button or graphic, I have to set the size of the page. I'll click File, Page Setup, and this button's going to be pretty small, so I'm going to want to choose Custom. I'll leave it at inches, and I'll make it 1 inch by 1/2 or 0.5 inches. I'll click OK. Now, Google adjusted the size, but it zoomed me in to make maximum use of the screen. I usually like it a little zoomed out. So I'll click the zoom icon, and I'll use the right mouse button instead of the left mouse button, which zooms me out. Then I'll click this select button or arrow button so that I can begin working with graphics. Now, you can adjust the length of any graphic or page in Google Forms by clicking and dragging this little handle in the lower right-hand corner. But for one reason or another, Google doesn't particularly like graphics that are below 1 inch in height. So if I adjust this out a little bit, Google will automatically add more height to the graphic, and it won't let me drag it back up. That's not really a problem. After I've got the length where I want it, I'll just come back to Page Setup, and I'll make an adjustment to get the height back to what I want, in this case, 1/2 inch. Click OK. It's helpful to build images roughly the size you're going to need them on the web, although many web platforms such as D2L, WordPress, or our wiki Confluence will allow you to resize the button somewhat after uploading it. Next, I'll add the button shape. I'll click on the shape icon, and from the drop-down menus, choose a shape I like. In this case, I typically like a rectangle with rounded corners. I'll draw that rectangle to lay pretty closely to the edges of the page. Now, I don't need the border, so I'm going to come up to this pencil icon here and choose Transparent. Next, I'll set the color of the button, the background that is, by using the bucket fill icon. I can choose a color I want here. In this case, I'm going to use Custom, and I'm going to enter the hex code for Canisius Blue, 0C234F. There it is. Click OK. And so the basic shape of the button is established. Next, I add text. I'll create a text box, and again, lay it as close as I can over the dimensions of the page. And Google snaps to grid, snaps it to the edges, which is helpful. Then I'll type in some text. Next, I format the text to get the size, font, and color that I'd like. So I'll highlight it. Maybe I'll come up here to the text color icon, choose a custom, enter Canisius Yellow, FFD 100. Okay. I could make it a little bit bigger, and I can choose that from the drop-down menu for text size. That's not bad. You can also enter a text size that you don't see in the drop-down menu. Make this just a little bigger. Next, I'll make sure that it's centered on the button. This actually doesn't look bad, but just to be sure, I'll use the alignment features. Align it horizontally, centered, and then I'll align it vertically. Remember that in most drawing programs, items lay on top of one another. So I cannot alter the button underneath the text, because if I try to click on it, I'm just going to get this text box, unless I move the text box. And if I see this cruciform icon when I hover around the edge of the text box, I'm able to click and drag it away so that I can click on the underlying button shape. Now I could make changes to that if I wanted to. Anytime I move items around to try to align them, for instance, I'm going to move this text back on top of the button, Google will give me visual cues to align it properly. So I see the red lines are telling me it's centered horizontally and vertically on the page, therefore on the button. I also can right-click and use these order commands to send items backward, send to the back, or bring them forward if I can see them. In this case, in order to get the text back, I'm going to send the blue button to the back. Right-click, order, send to the back. Now my button is ready for export. I'll click File, Download As, and choose PNG image instead of JPEG. And the reason for that is because a PNG will have these corners transparent. So this button will appear to be a rectangle with rounded colors regardless of the background on the web. Now that I have one button, it's relatively simple to create matching buttons that say different things. So I'm going to click the text and I'm going to move it out of the way, but I'm going to move it right up above the page. Then I'm going to move the button color itself out of the way, click on the page, and we'll take the length out a bit. Find the proper length for the text. That's pretty good. I'll match that roughly with the page. And then I have to go back to page setup in order to reestablish the height of the button. Once I've done that, I can once again restore the button itself to match the page. And then I can bring the text into the button. And in order to get it centered properly, I'll align the text box with the page and the button. And there we have it. I have another button formatted in the same way as my previous button that has different text. Now, you learned how to make a button, and these are handy for making websites or wiki pages. But you also learned some basics for graphics in Google Drawing. Try to make other kinds of things too. You can make graphics for social media or even printable posters for events.